Since 2007, Jim Donahue has helped rescue Old Sturbridge Village from financial instability and led the way in expanding interpretive programming and forging new community partnerships across the Commonwealth. Through tough decisions, innovative thinking, and unwavering perseverance, Mr. Donahue preserved the livelihoods of countless people, an endowment that had dwindled precariously in the previous years, interpretive education and programs that had been abandoned, and preserved public access to a first-hand experience of New England life in the early 19th century. During his tenure as director, Mr. Donahue pursued a number of high-profile preservation projects that have restored a number of the village's buildings to their former glory. One of his first projects was the restoration of the grand front hall of the Salem townhouse on the village common that had been moved from the neighboring town of Charlton. He also prioritized the reproduction of an early Concord stagecoach, which began operating in the village soon after. Collaborating with longtime member-turned-devoted trustee Bob Reeder and his wife Lorraine, Mr. Donahue restored 39 lodging units and the historic Oliver Wright House, thanks to a generous gift made by the Reeders. This past fall, a cabinet-making shop was opened, the first new building opened on the village common since 2007. Mr. Donahue has also expanded interpretive programs at the village that work to engage audiences old and new. Under his guidance, the Museum Education Building reopened, providing a new interpretive space for visitors to explore. He also launched the Old Sturbridge Academy in 2017, with a focus on serving underrepresented communities in the surrounding towns and creating a way to embed new and diverse people in the organization. From preserving historic buildings and expanding interpretation to forging new connections and partnerships, Mr. Donahue has worked tirelessly to ensure that Old Sturbridge Village continues to be an important historic destination, not only in Massachusetts, but in the United States as well. In 2021, the village celebrated its 75th anniversary, recognizing not only their historic and economic achievements, but the possibilities and opportunities ahead.
When I learned that I was a recipient of one of this year's Paul Niki Tsongas Preservation Awards from Preservation Massachusetts, I was really overwhelmed, in part because Preservation Massachusetts is such an amazing organization, and to be honored by them in this way was just incredible for me, but also just as a way to acknowledge the hard work of the board and the staff and the many volunteers and donors who support our preservation work here at Old Sturbridge Village. Each year, over 250,000 visitors come to the museum, and they spend time in our 50+ historic buildings and structures, not just learning about the histories of those individual buildings, but also the stories of the people who lived and worked in them in the 1830s. During the 15 years that I've been president here at the museum, it's really been a privilege to work alongside such very talented volunteers and staff members in an effort to preserve those buildings for the future, especially the past few years with the pandemic. And so today, I'm honored to accept this award for myself, but more importantly, for everyone at Old Sturbridge Village who's worked so hard to preserve these buildings here in Massachusetts. So thank you very much for this honor.
Preservation Massachusetts is very proud to recognize Mr. Jim Donahue with a 2022 Paul and Niki Tsongas Award.